My name is David. I'm 35 years old, and I'm recording this from a cheap motel 300 kilometers from my city. If you're hearing this, it's because I survived long enough to tell my story, or because I was found dead and someone found this recording. 6 months ago, I married Elena Whitmore, the most perfect woman I'd ever met. I thought I was starting the life of my dreams. I was wrong. I was entering a nightmare I can barely describe, because the Whitmore family hides a secret so dark, so terrifying, that they killed to protect it. And now that I've discovered it, I'm running for my life. Before I continue, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Stories like this, about families with deadly secrets, are rare to hear. And in the comments, tell me where you're watching from. I want to know this story is reaching people who can help if something happens to me. Let me start from the very beginning, because every detail might be important if I disappear. I met Elena 2 years ago at an art exhibition in Boston. It was a Friday evening, one of those gallery openings where you go more for the free wine than the art. But the moment I saw her, everything else disappeared. She was standing in front of a 19th century painting, completely absorbed. Blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through the canvas. When she turned and our eyes met, I felt something I'd never felt before. Not just attraction, recognition. Like I'd been waiting my whole life to meet her. Beautiful, isn't it? I said, approaching her. She smiled. The painting or the sentiment behind it? Both, I suppose. We talked for hours that night. She was a literature professor at Boston University, specialized in romantic poetry. Keats, Shelley, Byron. She could recite entire poems from memory. She was intelligent, funny, deep. By the end of the night, I was completely captivated. We started dating. Those first months were magical. Long walks through Boston Common. Late-night discussions about philosophy and art. Quiet mornings reading together in cafes. She was everything I'd ever wanted in a partner. But there was one thing that always seemed off. Whenever I asked about her family, Elena would become vague, almost evasive. Where are they from? I'd ask. Massachusetts. The countryside. They've been there for generations. What do? They manage the family estate. It's been in the Whitmore family since the 1800s. Do you visit them often? Not really. They prefer their privacy. And I prefer my independence. When can I meet them? She'd always find a reason to postpone. Soon, when the time is right. They're very traditional. They need to be prepared for new people. I found it odd, but I respected her boundaries. Some families are complicated. Some people have reasons to keep distance. I didn't push. A year into our relationship, I proposed. We were at the same gallery where we met, in front of the same painting. When I got down on one knee, her face lit up with joy. But I also saw something else, a flash of concern, maybe even fear. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, of course, yes. But then she pulled me close and whispered, but now you need to meet my family. There's no avoiding it anymore. When you marry me, you marry into the Whitmore family. And that means accepting certain things. What kind of things? You'll see. Just promise me you'll keep an open mind. I promise. How could I not? I loved her. 2 weeks later, we drove to the Whitmore estate. It was a 3-hour drive from Boston, getting progressively more rural. The last 30 minutes were on increasingly narrow roads, surrounded by dense forests that seemed to swallow the sunlight. We're almost there, Elena said, but she seemed tense. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. Are you okay? I asked. I'm fine. Just nervous. I haven't brought anyone home in a very long time. Not since. She stopped. Not since what? Not since my last boyfriend. 5 years ago. What happened to him? She was quiet for a moment. He didn't understand. He couldn't accept our family's ways. So he left. And you haven't seen him since? No. Once you leave the Whitmore family, you don't come back. The way she said it sent a chill down my spine. The estate appeared suddenly as we rounded a bend. A massive Victorian mansion, 3 stories tall, with Gothic revival details, pointed arches, steep gables, decorative trim, beautiful in a haunting way. Surrounding it were several smaller houses, all in the same architectural style, arranged in a semicircle around the main building. Everything was enclosed by a stone wall at least 8 feet high, topped with iron spikes. The only entrance was through a massive iron gate that opened automatically as we approached. Security? I asked. Privacy, Elena corrected. The family values privacy above all else. As we drove through, I noticed cameras. Lots of cameras. Pointed at the gate, at the driveway, at the houses. For a family that claimed to value privacy, they certainly had a lot of surveillance. We parked in front of the main mansion. Before we could even get out, the front door opened. A tall, thin man emerged. He had to be in his 60s, but he moved with the grace of someone much younger. White hair, piercing blue eyes identical to Elena's, and a presence that was both welcoming and intimidating. "Elena," he said, embracing her. "It's been too long." "Hi, Dad. This is David." "David, my father, Jonathan Whitmore." His handshake was firm, but his hands were unnaturally cold, like he'd been holding ice. "Welcome to the Whitmore estate, David," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "Elena has told us so much about you. We're very curious to meet the man who captured our daughter's heart." There was something about the way he said "curious" that made me uncomfortable. Inside, the mansion was even more impressive and more unsettling. High ceilings with ornate molding, crystal chandeliers, antique furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. But despite all the luxury, it felt cold. Not just temperature, though it was oddly chilly for a summer evening, but emotionally cold, like a beautiful corpse. The walls were covered with portraits, generations of Whitmores, all with the same features: blonde or light brown hair, blue eyes, sharp cheekbones. It was uncanny how similar they all looked across centuries. "Family resemblance is strong in our bloodline," Jonathan said, noticing me studying the portraits. "We've been very careful about who we marry, keeping the lineage pure, you might say." "Dad," Elena said sharply, a warning in her tone. "What?" "It's true. The Whitmores have always understood the importance of genetic consistency." We entered the main living room, and I stopped in my tracks. The entire family was there, and I mean the entire family. I counted quickly at least 30 people, maybe more, all ages, from elderly to young children, and every single one of them had those same distinctive Whitmore features. They sat in absolute silence, all facing us, watching, evaluating. "Family," Jonathan announced. "This is David, Elena's fiancé." Still silence. Just those penetrating blue eyes, all locked on me. Finally, an elderly woman stood. She had to be in her 80s, but she moved with surprising grace. "I am Margaret Whitmore, matriarch of this family." "Welcome, David. It's not often we allow outsiders into our home." "Thank you for having me, Mrs. Whitmore. Please call me Margaret. After all, if you marry Elena, you'll be family. And family doesn't stand on formality." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Over the next few days, I tried to get to know the family. But the more time I spent with them, the more uneasy I became. First, there was a physical similarity. It wasn't just general family resemblance. They all looked like variations of the same person. Different ages, slightly different features, but fundamentally the same template. I mentioned this to Elena. "The Whitmore bloodline is very pure," she explained. "For generations, we've only married within a very select circle. Other old families with similar values. It keeps the genetic traits consistent." "Isn't that problematic? Genetically?" "You'd think so. But the Whitmores have always been remarkably healthy. No genetic diseases. Unusual longevity. We must be doing something right." Second, nobody seemed to work. I asked various family members what they did for a living, and the answers were always vague. "I manage the family investments," said one. "I oversee the estate maintenance," said another. "I handle the family archives," said a third. But nobody seemed to actually do anything. They all just existed on the estate. living off family wealth that had apparently sustained them for generations. How does the family make money? I asked Jonathan one evening. We have investments, he said vaguely. Properties. Holdings. The Whitmore fortune has been carefully managed for centuries. We don't need to work in the traditional sense. Third, there were rules. Strange. Strict rules that everyone followed without question. No one left the estate after dark. When I suggested Elena and I go into town for dinner one evening, she looked horrified. We can't. The family gathers every evening. Everyone must be present. Certain areas were off limits. The basement of the main house, a small cottage at the edge of the property, a section of the woods beyond the wall. Private areas, Elena explained. Every family needs some privacy. Meals were communal and happened at specific times. 7 a.m. for breakfast, 1 p.m. for lunch, 7 p.m. for dinner. Miss a meal, and you'd face disapproving looks from the entire family. And every night at exactly 10 p.m., the entire family gathered in the library for what they called family meeting. On my first night, Elena led me to the library. It was massive, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with ancient volumes. The family arranged themselves in a perfect circle, with Margaret at the center. "Welcome to our evening gathering," Margaret said. "David, as our guest, you're welcome to observe, but please remain silent and do not interrupt." I nodded, confused but curious. What happened next was bizarre. The family began to speak in unison, reciting something in a language I didn't recognize. It sounded vaguely like Latin, but not quite. The words were harsh, guttural, uncomfortable to hear. They continued for about 20 minutes, eyes closed, swaying slightly. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy, oppressive. I found it hard to breathe. When they finished, everyone opened their eyes simultaneously and smiled at each other, as if they'd just shared something wonderful. What was that? I whispered to Elena as we walked back to our room. "Family prayers," she said. "We recite them every night. It's tradition." What language was that? Old Whitmore dialect. It's been in the family for centuries. Don't worry, you'll learn it eventually. I'm expected to learn a whole language? When your family. Yes, everyone participates in the evening prayers. It's non-negotiable. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the whole situation felt deeply wrong. But I loved Elena. And strange doesn't necessarily mean dangerous, right? On the third night, I woke up at 3 a.m. to find Elena's side of the bed empty. I assumed she'd gone to the bathroom, but after 10 minutes, she still hadn't returned. I got up to look for her. The mansion was dark and eerily quiet. I walked down the hallway, checking rooms, but found nothing. Then I heard it, voices coming from somewhere below. The basement. I found the basement door, which I'd been told was off limits. It was slightly ajar, with flickering light coming from below. I knew I shouldn't. I knew it was forbidden. But curiosity and concern for Elena drove me forward. I descended the stairs as quietly as possible. The basement was enormous, stretching under the entire mansion, and there in the center was the entire Whitmore family. They were all dressed in white robes, arranged in a circle around a stone altar I hadn't noticed before. Candles provided the only light, casting dancing shadows on the walls. And in the center of that circle, participating fully in whatever was happening, was Elena. The family was chanting again, that same harsh language from the library, but this time it was more intense, more fervent, almost frenzied. And on the altar was an animal, a rabbit, alive, bound with rope. I watched in horror as Margaret approached the altar, holding an ornate, ancient-looking knife. The chanting grew louder, more insistent, and then she brought the knife down. I couldn't watch anymore. I turned and fled back up the stairs, back to the room, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. Elena returned an hour later, slipping quietly into bed. She thought I was asleep, but I was wide awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd seen. The next morning, I confronted her. We were alone in the garden, and I couldn't hold it in any longer. "I saw what you did last night. In the basement." Her face went pale. "You went to the basement?" "David, You weren't supposed to dash. I saw the ritual. The sacrifice. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath. I should have told you before bringing you here. I hoped you'd accept us first before learning about the deeper aspects of our faith. Your faith? Elena, you sacrifice an animal. Yes, it's part of our religion. An ancient practice that the Whitmore family has maintained for centuries. That's not Christianity. That's not any modern religion. No, it's not. It's much older. Pre-Christian. Our family has practiced this faith since before Christianity even existed. We're one of the last families in the world who still maintains the true old ways. The old ways? Elena, this is insane. Is it? Humans have been making sacrifices to their gods since the beginning of time. Ancient Greeks, Romans, Hebrews, Aztecs, Vikings, every major civilization practiced ritual sacrifice. We've just never stopped. But why? What's the point? She looked at me intently. Have you noticed anything unusual about my family? Besides the fact that you all look identical and sacrifice animals in your basement, have you noticed how healthy everyone is? How even the elderly, like Margaret 83, move like they're decades younger? How no one is ever sick? How the family fortune never seems to diminish? What are you saying? I'm saying our faith works, David. The rituals we perform, the sacrifices we make, they bring us blessings, longevity, health, prosperity, protection. I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. You can't actually believe that killing animals grants you magical powers. It's not magic, it's faith. And yes, I believe it, because I've seen it work my entire life. I was quiet for a long moment. Elena, I love you, but this is too much. I can't be part of this. Her face fell. I was afraid you'd say that. Can't we just get married and live in Boston? You don't have to participate in the family rituals. It doesn't work like that. Once you're born a Whitmore, you're always a Whitmore. And once you marry into the family, you become a Whitmore too. Everyone participates. It's not optional. Then I can't do this. Tears filled her eyes. David, please, just keep an open mind. Give a chance. For me, against my better judgment, I agreed to stay through the weekend and think about it. Folks, I should have left right then. I should have gotten in my car and driven away. But I loved her, and love makes you do stupid things. If you're following this story and it's making you uncomfortable, leave a like and subscribe. In the comments, tell me, would you have stayed or left? Where are you watching from? The wedding was scheduled for 2 months away. Elena and I returned to Boston, but she insisted we visit the estate every weekend. You need to become part of the family, she kept saying. You need to understand our ways. Each visit, the pressure increased. They wanted me to participate more in the rituals. First, just observing. Then, reciting the words even though I didn't understand them. Then, helping prepare the altar. I kept refusing the deeper involvement. I'm not ready, I'd say. And everyone would smile patiently and say, in your own time. But Margaret, the matriarch, started making comments. After the wedding, participation won't be optional anymore. David, when you're officially family, you follow family rules. 1 month before the wedding, something changed. Elena had to stay in Boston for a work conference, but the family insisted I come to the estate alone, so we can get to know you better, Jonathan said. I should have refused, but a part of me was curious. Maybe if I understood them better, I could convince Elena to distance herself from the family's stranger practices. That Saturday evening, after dinner, Jonathan asked me to come to his study. The study was like the rest of the house. Impressive but cold. Dark with paneling, leather furniture, walls lined with ancient books. Jonathan poured 2 glasses of expensive whiskey and handed one to me. David, we need to have a serious conversation about what it truly means to be a Whitmore. I'm listening. He took a sip of his drink, choosing his words carefully. Elena told you about our faith, our rituals, but there's more you need to understand before you marry into this family. Go on. The Whitmore family isn't just some eccentric old family that maintains quaint traditions. We are the last descendants of a genuinely ancient priestly bloodline. Our rituals, our faith, they date back thousands of years, long before Christianity, long before most of recorded history. That's impressive, I guess. It's more than impressive. It's power. Real, tangible power. You've noticed how healthy we all are, how prosperous, how the family has maintained wealth and influence for generations. You attribute that to your rituals? I don't attribute it. I know it. Our sacrifices, our prayers, our dedication to the old gods, they bless us in return. Long life, protection from disease and misfortune, prosperity. These aren't accidents of genetics or luck. They're earned. Jonathan, with all due respect, correlation doesn't equal causation. Maybe your family is just lucky. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. 200 years ago, the Whitmores made human sacrifices. I nearly dropped my glass. What? It was different times, different morals, prisoners of war, criminals sentenced to death anyway, occasionally slaves. The family would offer them to the old gods in exchange for blessings. That's murder. It was sacrifice, and it was incredibly effective. The family flourished like never before. We became one of the wealthiest families in Massachusetts, lived longer than any of our peers, wielded enormous influence. And you're telling me this why? Because you need to understand our history, what we're capable of, what we've done for power. But you said that was 200 years ago. We stopped when it became too legally risky. When society changed and such practices could no longer be hidden. But the principle remains. Sacrifice brings blessing. The greater the sacrifice, the greater the blessing. I stood up. Jonathan, I think I should go. Sit down, David. I'm not finished. There was steel in his voice. I sat. Every generation, when someone new marries into the family, there's an initiation ritual, a test, if you will. What kind of test? You participate in a great ritual, the most important ritual we perform, done only once per generation. And in that ritual, the old gods judge you. If they accept you, you become truly one of us. You receive the same blessings we do. Long life, health, prosperity. But if they reject you, what happens if they reject me? Then you aren't meant to be part of this family. And the ritual takes care of that. My blood ran cold. Are you saying I could die? The gods decide. Not us. But historically, most people are accepted. Elena loves you. You love her. The gods see that love and usually grant acceptance. Usually, about 80% of the time, the person is accepted and joins the family. The other 20%. He shrugged. And I don't have a choice about participating. His friendly demeanor vanished. You know too much now, David. You know about our rituals, our history, our secrets. We can't have you walking around with that knowledge if you're not family. So it's participate or what? You kill me to keep your secret? We don't kill anyone. If you refuse the initiation, you'll simply leave and never speak of what you learned here. And if I do speak, then we'd have to take measures to protect the family. We've done it before when necessary. The Whitmore family has survived for centuries by protecting its secrets. We're very good at it. I felt trapped, cornered. What if I just leave now? What if Elena and I just don't get married? Elena would be heartbroken, and you'd still know our secrets. No, David, I'm afraid you have two choices. Participate in the ritual, be accepted, and live a long, prosperous life as part of our family. Or refuse and face the consequences of being an outsider who knows too much. This is insane. This is reality. You have until the wedding, 1 week to decide. I suggest you choose wisely. That night, I barely slept. Every scenario I imagined ended badly. If I participated in the ritual, I might die. If I refused, they'd likely kill me to protect their secret. If I went to the police, who would believe me? A rich, respected family practices animal sacrifice and claims to have an ancient religion without bodies or evidence. I'd sound crazy. The next morning, I told them I felt sick and needed to go back to Boston. They let me leave, but not before Margaret took me aside. "David," she said sweetly, "I know this is overwhelming. But remember, our family has done this for generations. The ritual is safe for those who come with love in their hearts. Elena loves you. The gods will see that. You'll be fine. And if I'm in the 20% who aren't," her smile never wavered, "then it wasn't meant to be. Back in Boston, I tried to talk to Elena, really talk to her. Your father told me about the initiation ritual. Elena, you can't seriously expect me to participate in something where I have a 20% chance of dying." "It's not really 20%, she said. "That's just historically. People who come with doubt, with fear, with resistance, they're the ones who aren't accepted. But you love me. I love you. When you come to the ritual with an open heart, the gods accept you. I've seen it. Have you seen people not be accepted?" She was quiet. "Elena, have you seen people die in this ritual?" "Once," she finally admitted. "When I was 16, a woman who married my uncle. She was afraid. She didn't believe. She fought against the ritual, and the gods rejected her. What happened to her? She didn't survive the night. Jesus Christ, Elena, you're asking me to risk my life on the chance that your family's gods find me acceptable. I'm asking you to have faith, to trust me, to trust the family. What if I can't?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Then we can't get married. And you'd have to promise never to speak of what you learned about us. And if I promise, but they don't trust me to keep that promise, then I can't protect you." The threat was clear. Participate or die. Those were my only real options. I pretended to think about it. "Okay," I finally said. "I'll do it. I'll participate in the ritual. I trust you." She hugged me, relieved. "You won't regret this. I promise. You'll be accepted, and we'll have a wonderful life together." But I was lying. I had no intention of participating in any ritual where I might die. I was going to run. For the next few days, I prepared carefully, withdrew cash from multiple ATMs, enough to live on for several months without using credit cards that could be tracked, gathered important documents, passport, birth certificate, social security card, packed a small bag with clothes and essentials. I told no one, not friends, not family. The fewer people who knew, the safer I'd be. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday. On Friday evening, according to tradition, Elena stayed with her maid of honor. I was alone in our apartment. At 2 a.m., I grabbed my pre-packed bag, got in my car, and drove. No destination in mind. Just away. Far away from the Whitmore estate and their insane rituals. I drove for hours until the sun came up, stopped at a diner in New Hampshire, paid cash, tried to think clearly. My phone started ringing. Elena. I didn't answer. Then Jonathan. Margaret. Numbers I didn't recognize. They were all trying to reach me. Finally, around noon, I answered a call from an unknown number. "David." Jonathan's voice was cold. "You've made a catastrophic mistake. I'm not coming back. I'm not participating in your ritual. You don't understand. This isn't about the ritual anymore. It's about what you know. We can't allow someone outside the family to have knowledge of our practices. I won't tell anyone. I swear. We've heard that before. And every single time, the person eventually talks. Whether to a therapist, a friend, a romantic partner, they always talk. And we can't risk that. What are you going to do? Hunt me down? If necessary. The Whitmore family has resources you can't imagine. We've been protecting our secrets for centuries. We know how to find people who run. I'll go to the police." He laughed. "And say what? That a wealthy family practices an ancient religion? That's not illegal. That they do animal sacrifice? Also not illegal, if done humanely on private property. That they threatened you? Prove it. We've never put anything in writing. We've never left evidence. It's your word against one of the most respected families in Massachusetts. I'll tell them about the woman who died. Elena told me. A woman had a heart attack during a family ceremony 16 years ago. Tragic, but entirely natural. The death certificate says so. The autopsy confirmed it. There's no crime there, David. What do you want from me? Come back. Participate in the ritual. Be accepted into the family. It's your only real option for survival. And if I'm not accepted, if I'm in that 20%, then at least you'll have faced your fate with honor rather than running like a coward. Fuck you, Jonathan. I hung up, threw the phone out the window, and kept driving. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I've been moving constantly. Different motels every night, always paying cash. I've changed cars twice, buying cheap used vehicles from private sellers with no paperwork trail. And I keep seeing them. Or I think I do. A black SUV that seems to follow me for a few miles before disappearing. A man in a restaurant who looks too interested in my direction. A woman at a gas station who watches me a little too closely. Maybe I'm paranoid. Maybe the stress is getting to me. Or maybe the Whitmores really are hunting me. I've been documenting everything. Writing down everything I know. Recording this message. Gathering what little evidence I have. If something happens to me, if I disappear or turn up dead, at least there will be a record. The Whitmore family isn't just a strange family with odd traditions. They're dangerous. They practice rituals they believe grant them power, longevity, and prosperity. And they're willing to kill to protect those secrets. I loved Elena. Part of me still does. She was beautiful, intelligent, everything I thought I wanted. But she was also willing to risk my life for her family's insane beliefs. She chose them over me, over my safety, over my life. And I chose to live. I don't know how this ends. Maybe they'll find me. Maybe I'll spend the rest of my life running, looking over my shoulder, never able to use my real name or return to my old life. Maybe they'll eventually give up and leave me alone, though I doubt it. Or maybe they'll find this recording after they find me, after they silence me permanently to protect their centuries-old secret. If you're listening to this and I'm already dead, please investigate the Whitmore family. Look into their history. Look into the people who've married into the family and then mysteriously disappeared. Look into the death certificates of the 20% who weren't accepted. Please don't let them get away with this. Folks, this is my story. The story of how I fell in love with the wrong woman and discovered her family's terrifying secret. If this story affected you, if it scared you or made you think, leave a like, subscribe, and share it. The more people who know about the Whitmores, the harder it will be for them to silence me. In the comments, tell me, do you believe families like this really exist? What would you have done in my situation? Would you have participated in the ritual or run like I did? Where are you watching from? Thank you for listening. And if you're in a relationship with someone whose family seems too good to be true, pay attention to the warning signs. Not all secrets are meant to be discovered. And some families will do anything, absolutely anything, to keep those secrets buried. This is David, probably still running, possibly already dead. Until the next story, if there is one. Stay safe out there. And remember, when someone tells you they really are, believe them the first time. Entire family was gathered around a stone altar. Elena was there, wearing white clothes, reciting that strange language. In the center of the altar, there was an animal, a live rabbit, tied up. Margaret approached with an ancient knife, and as the family chanted, she sacrificed the animal. I recoiled in shock, ran back to the room. The next day, I confronted Elena. I saw what you do in the basement. She sighed. I should have told you. Our family practices an ancient religion, pre-Christian. Rituals passed down for generations for centuries. Animal sacrifice? Yes, like ancient Greeks, Romans, Hebrews did. It's our faith. If you're going to be part of this family, you need to respect that. I was disturbed. But animal sacrifice isn't illegal. Many historical cultures practiced it. Maybe it was just a very traditional family maintaining ancient practices. How wrong I was. Folks, up to here, I thought it was just a strange family. But what I discovered after changed everything. If you're following along, leave a like and subscribe. In the comments, would you continue the wedding? Where are you watching from? The wedding was scheduled for 2 months later. But Elena insisted we go to the property every weekend. You need to become part of the family. Each visit, They pressure me more to participate in the rituals, first observing, then reciting words without understanding, then helping with the preparations. I politely refused. I'm not ready yet. Margaret seemed patient. In your own time. But after the wedding, you'll officially be family. And family participates. A week before the wedding, Elena stayed in Boston. But the family insisted I go to the property alone. That night, Jonathan took me to his office. David, there's more you need to know about being a Whitmore. The Whitmores aren't just a traditional family. We're descendants of a very ancient priestly lineage. Thousands of years. Our faith, our rituals, they're not theater. They're real. They work. Work how? Have you noticed how the whole family seems healthy? How Margaret, 83, moves like she's 60? How no one gets sick? Good genetics? No. The rituals. Our ancient faith grants us longevity, health, prosperity, in exchange for regular offerings. Offerings? The animals? He hesitated. Animals are for minor rituals, monthly renewal, but for the big rituals, the important ones. He stopped. What? David, 200 years ago, the Whitmores made human sacrifices. Prisoners of war, criminals, slaves. It was accepted at the time in certain cultures. I felt my blood freeze. And now we're civilized. We don't kill innocents. He emphasized the word innocence. But every generation, when someone new enters a family through marriage, there's a test, an initiation ritual. What kind of test? You'll participate in the great ritual. And if our faith accepts you, you'll live, prosper with us, have longevity, health, wealth. But if the faith rejects you, I die. The faith decides, not us. He placed his hand on my shoulder. But don't worry. Most of the time, people are accepted. Elena loves you. The faith sees that. You'll be accepted. And if I refuse, if I simply don't participate, his expression hardened, then you know too much. No one who knows our secret can leave the family. It's too dangerous. Either you join us or we ensure your silence another way. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you a choice. Join us and live prosperously. Or, well, there is no or. This is your only option. I felt panic rising. I need to think. Of course, you have until the wedding. 1 week. After that, you participate in the initiation ritual. That's how it's always been. That night, I pretended to be sick and said I needed to return to Boston. They reluctantly let me go, but I felt their eyes following me. Back in Boston, I tried to talk to Elena. Your father told me about the initiation ritual. Elena, you can't be serious about this. She sighed. David, I know it seems scary, but it's safe. My mother went through it. Everyone who married a Whitmore went through it, and everyone survived. The faith accepts us because we love family members. But what if it doesn't accept me? Your father suggested I die. It won't happen. I love you. You love me. The faith sees that. You'll be accepted. I promise. What if I simply don't want to participate? If I just want a normal wedding? Her face became sad. Then we can't get married. And you know too much now. The family can't allow an outsider to know our secrets. I'm sorry, David. I really am. But those are the rules. I realized then I was trapped. Either I participated in the ritual and risked my life, or I refused and would probably be killed to keep the secret. I pretended to agree. Okay, I'll participate. I trust you. But I started planning my escape. 2 days before the wedding, while Elena was at work, I took money, important documents, some clothes, put everything in a hidden backpack. The night before the wedding, we said we'd sleep separately. Tradition. She stayed with friends. I stayed in our apartment. At 2 a.m., I grabbed my backpack and left. Got in the car and drove. No specific destination. Just away. But I didn't count on the Whitmore family. My phone started ringing. Elena. I didn't answer. Then Jonathan. Margaret. Numbers I didn't recognize. Finally, I answered a call from an unknown number. David. It was Jonathan's voice, cold. You've made a very serious mistake. I'm not participating in your insane ritual. You don't understand. It's not about the ritual. It's about the secret. You know our truth. We can't let you go. I'll go to the police. He laughed. And say what? That a wealthy family practices ancient religious rituals? That they do animal sacrifices? That's not illegal, David. And as for the rest, who's going to believe you? We've been respected in the community for generations. You're just a man who got cold feet about commitment. I'll tell everything anyway. Then you'll force us to take measures. We don't want to hurt you, David. We really don't. But we'll protect our family and our secret. We always have. For centuries. Come back. Participate in the ritual. Be accepted. Live prosperously with us. It's your best option. I hung up, kept driving. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I've been seeing cars following me. Or I think I'm seeing them. Maybe it's paranoia. But I can't risk it. I've changed cars twice. Paid in cash. Avoid cameras. Use only cash, never cards that can be tracked. And I'm recording this as insurance. If something happens to me, if I disappear, at least there'll be a record of the truth. The Whitmore family isn't just strange. They're dangerous. They practice rituals. They claim grant longevity and prosperity. And they're willing to kill to protect that secret. Elena, I loved her. Part of me still does. But she chose the family. Chose the rituals. Chose the secret. And I chose my life. I don't know how long I can keep running. I don't know if they'll really hunt me or eventually give up. I don't know if I can ever return to my normal life. All I know is I married the woman of my dreams and discovered her family hides a terrifying secret, a secret they kill for. And now I'm paying the price for discovering it. Folks, this was my story. If you're hearing this and I've disappeared, please investigate the Whitmore family. Please don't let them get away with it. If this story scared you as much as it scared me to live it, leave a like, subscribe, and share. In the comments, do you believe families like this really exist? What would you do in my place? Where are you watching from? Thank you for listening. And if you're part of a family with dark secrets, run. Run while you can. Until the next story, if there's a next one.